Hi group, it's Mrs. Schaus. I'm ready to talk to you today about another method for calculating our interest for a credit card. And this time it is average daily balance method. Ooh, that sounds familiar. But this time with purchases included. So as we're calculating our average daily balance, we will be including purchases along the way in our table. You might watch this particular lecture and say, wow, that looks really just like the last lecture that we were considering on average daily balance, but without purchases included. Very, very similar. The only thing that's going to change in this presentation is that along the way, as I'm looking at my daily balance, I will change those balances when a purchase occurs. So I'm going to dig right in and we're going to take a look at a couple of examples together. Formulas are the same as they were before. To find the average daily balance, we're still going to sum up all the days' balances and divide by the number of days that are in our billing cycle. And for the finance charge, we're going to take that average daily balance and multiply by our periodic rate, expressed as a decimal, of course. All right, so in this first example, your credit card statement arrives in the mail. It covers the billing period from 8/15 through 9/15. You had a previous balance of $100. Your $50 payment was posted on 8/22. You were credited $23.15 on 8/27. Your credit card company charges a periodic rate of 2% on of the average daily balance. You made one new purchase of $45.79 on September 1st. What is the finance charge? And then what is your new balance? So remember that this one's sort of started for us. The first two pieces I kind of want to look for here are the starting date of the billing cycle. So right here, 8/15 is the first day in that billing cycle. And I also want to look for my previous balance. Previous balance of $100 means that for that first day, my end of day balance is the $100. And it'll stay that $100 until a transaction occurs. So now what I want to do is I'm going to underline all of the transactions that occur. A $50 payment on 8/22, a credit of $23.15 on 8/27, and then also one new purchase of $45.79 on 9/1. Now, if this had been our last lecture, we wouldn't have included this purchase as part of our changing daily balance. We will now. And so what we need to do is think about the order in which these transactions occur. This first one happened on 8/22, then here 8/27, then here 9/1. So these are already in order for us, but be careful in the reading. If they're not in order, we do have to take them in order. We have to make the calculations based on when they occur. All right, so if I make a $50 payment on 8/22, 8/22 is going to sit right here, and this $100 balance is going to be my end of day balance all the way through the 21st. Now, on the 22nd, since it was a $50 payment, I'm going to write that here in the payment column as minus 50. A payment will take away from our end of day balance. So now we're going to have a new end of day balance of $50. The next transaction that occurs was a credit of $23.15 on 8/27. So I'll write 8/27 here. That's when my next change is going to occur. That means this $50 end of day balance would happen all the way through 8/26. Again, since that transaction was a credit, credits and payments do the same thing to our account. Account balance, that is, they lower it, right? So we're going to subtract $23.15 away from that $50. So 50 minus $23.15, that gives me a new end of day balance of $26.85. And finally, the last transaction was a purchase. It happened on 9/1. Now, what's the day right before September 1st? Well, it's the very last day in August. So I do need to know how many days in August. And the answer to that is 31. So 8/31 will sit here. If you're not sure about how many days are in each month, be sure to ask me about that in class, and we'll talk about a little handy trick for recognizing the number of days in each month. All right, on that first, remember it was a new purchase of $45.79, so I'm writing it underneath this purchase column, and that's going to add in to my end of day balance. So I'll take the $26.85 and add in $45.79. I now get an end of day balance that is $72.64. And since there's no other description up here regarding different transactions, I'm going to say this is my end of day balance all the way through the end of the billing cycle, which was through September 15th. So I'll put 9/15 right there. Now, what I need to know is how many days did I have a balance of 100? How many days a balance of $50, and so on. Because instead of adding these up multiple times, I'd like to just multiply. I could just add 100 and 100 and 100 some number of times, or I could just multiply by the number of 100-day balances that I have. So I need to know how many days that we're referencing here, 8/15 through 8/21. And remember what I shared with you before, and you could probably physically count, but a nice easy way to do it is by subtraction. But we don't want to think 21 minus 15 because the 15th is actually included as a day that has that balance. I really would like to think 21 minus 14, which is 7. Okay, so 7 days. 7 at 100, that's a partial sum of $700. How many days did I have an ending day balance of 50? Well, again, 26 minus not 22, but 21, that would be 5 days. And 5 times 50, another $250. How many days here? 31 minus 26, that is 5. 26.85 times 5 gives me 134.25 for that partial sum. And then this should be relatively simple here, right? The 1st through the 15th, that's 15 days. Again, you really could think 15 minus 0, right? And 15 days at $72.64 gives me a partial sum of $1,089.60. So now I want to sum all of these partial sums together so that I have the sum of all my day balances. When I sum those together, I get $2,173.85. Now, if this is adding up all of my days' balances to find the average, I need to divide by the number of total days that are in my billing cycle. So I want to add this together. Okay? Let's see, this is 10 added to the 15 here. That would be 25, and 7 more would make this a total of 32 days. So now again, to find my average, I take that total of all the days balances summed together and divide by the total number of days, 32, which gives me an average of $67.93. And again, if you think about this being an average of my different days balances, if I kind of looked at these different end of day balances, this should seem, sort of like an average of these. Well, we have to be careful. It's not really summing these 4 together and dividing by 4 because some of the days balances occurred a lot longer than others. Okay? All right, so now that I have the average daily balance, to find the finance charge, I multiply it by the periodic rate. Remember, up above here in the reading, it said 2% was my periodic rate, and I need to change that so that it's expressed as a decimal. If I take the 67.93 and multiply by 0.02, I get $1.36 for my finance charge. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Mrs. Schaus, you talked about how when we have a very high annual percentage rate, we're going to be paying a lot of money in interest. And with an APR, remember this periodic rate is a monthly rate. So if I multiply the 2% times 12, we're talking about this being 24% APR, not a good APR. $1.36 doesn't seem like that much money to pay, does it? But remember, the reason this is such a small finance charge is because our balance was so small throughout the month. Remember from our prior video, I talked about the average balance in the U.S. being over $6,000. That's quite a bit different than the balance that this individual is carrying here. And even at $1.36, if you pay that month after month after month, it's still just extra money that's going into somebody else's pocket and out of yours, okay? How do we find the new balance? Well, we've already taken our previous balance and we've subtracted away payments and credits and added in new purchases. So this 72.64 almost takes us there. All we really have left to do is to add in our finance charge of $1.36. So I'm going to do that in just a minute. I want you to know that if you looked back at our previous formula and said, oh, I thought I had to do this big string of arithmetic, the formula said previous balance minus payments and credits plus adding in purchases plus adding in finance charge. I would get, this piece right here. The part of subtracting off payments and credits and adding in purchases has already been done to us when we get to this balance right here. So the only piece left to do is to add in the $1.36 for the finance charge. $72.64 plus $1.36 gives me a total of, well, exactly $74. That's not typical to get exactly an even dollar amount, but there it is. Happens sometimes. All right, so that's our first example. Let's take a look at another. Your previous balance from last month was $392.24. The billing cycle is from May 3rd to June 2nd. You make a payment in the amount of $95 on 5/15. That's a payment, right? On 5/6, you purchase movie tickets for $25. And you make another purchase for $35.87 on May 10th. And again, that was a purchase. Then on May 28th, you receive a credit in the amount of $18.35. Well, there's a lot to underline here, a lot going on, right? The credit card company charges you $1.25% as a periodic rate. This should say periodic, but period rate really means the same thing, for determining the monthly finance charge. Using the average daily balance, again, with purchases included, let's calculate the finance charge and find our new balance. All right. I tried to make the size of this a little larger. That's why my line is sort of in the wrong spot here and I didn't catch it, so I apologize for that. Remember that when I start to fill out this table, that the first two things I want to look for are the beginning date of the billing cycle. That was May 3rd. So I'm going to write that 5/3 right here. And the second piece of information is what was our end of day balance. That's the same thing as our previous balance from last month. I'm going to put that right here, $392.24. And the balance is going to remain that each day until we have a transaction occur. Let me try to pull this down a little bit to make it easier for you folks to see. There we go. Okay, so I have to look again at the order of my different transactions. This payment happened on 5/15. 5/15 is one of our dates, right? This purchase happened on 5/6, so that's another one of our dates. But as I look down here, I also see a purchase on 5/10, and then 5/28. That would come at, over here at the end. So I'm just thinking about which transactions, should occur in which order. I'm going to look at the May 6th transaction first. What was that? On May 6th, you purchased movie tickets. It was a purchase for $25. So I'm going to write that down here, a purchase, which adds into our end of day balance. And again, because it happened on 5/6, I'll put the 5/6 here, which means our balance remained as $392.24 all the way through the 5th. Cross that off. The next transaction happened on May 10th, so I'm going to look for that. That's right here. That was a purchase, another purchase of $35.87, which happened on the 10th, which means that this date should be the 9th. All right, use that transaction. Now let's move on to what happened on the 15th. On the 15th, we made a payment for $95. Oh, okay, good. Payments will deduct from what we owe, so minus $95 there. Kind of looks like a 6. Let me rewrite that. There we go. And when did that happen again? It was on 5/15, which means this should be the 14th. And finally, the last transaction occurs on 5/28. That was a credit in the amount of $18.35. So we'll subtract $18.35 in a moment. That happened on the 28th, which means that this end of day balance, with the one I'll end up actually with over here, will be through the 27th. And since that was the last transaction to occur, this will go all the way through the end of our billing cycle, which was June 2nd. Now, what I didn't do this time around was this addition and subtraction to come up with my end of day balances along the way. I could have added in 25 and waited, to move on to that next line, or I can just do the running total right now, which is what I'm going to do this time. So $392.24. The next thing that I needed to do was add in that $25 purchase. That gives me $417.24. I'm going to add in the next purchase of $35.87. That gives me $453.11. And I'm going to take away $95 for the payment, $358.11. And I'm going to also subtract $18.35 for the credit, $339.76. All right, once again, in thinking about trying to find an average, I have to know how many times I would be adding up $392.24 and how many times I would be adding up $417.24 and so on. So let's take a look at the number of days. Here we've got the 3rd through the 5th. I mean, we could just really say the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. That's 3 days, right? And again, you probably could count here, but I could also think 9 minus not 6, but 5. 9 minus 5, that's 4 days. Again, 14 minus not 10, but 14 minus 9 instead, which would be a total of 5 days. The 27th, take away not 15, but 14, which would be 13 days. And again, here I'm spanning the month. So I'm in May and I'm going over into June. I have to know how many days are in the month of May. Again, can show you a handy trick if you ask me when we're in the classroom. But there are 31 days in May. So I need to think the 28th, 29th, 30th, and the 31st. It's a total of 4 days in May and 2 more in June. That gives me 6 here. All right, I've got to multiply to get some partial sums. $392.24 times 3 days would give me 1,176.72. $417.24 at 4 days, $1,668.96. $453.11 times 5 days, a partial sum of $2,265.55. $358.11 times 13 days would give me $4,655.43. And $339.76 times 6 days would give me a total of $2,038.56. And I'll add all those together. Give me just a moment to do that. And I end up with a total sum of $11,805.22. And how many days were there in my billing cycle? Well, once again, I need to do some addition. I've got, let's see, the 4 added to the 6, that would be 10 days there. And then I've got, the 10 here, so that's 20. And then I'm adding another 6 and 5, another 11 to that. So 20 and 11 more. We're talking about 31 days in our billing cycle here. Okay, now in this particular problem, notice I'm going to reference our last problem. I gave you a space here for finding the average, then how do you find the finance charge, and then finally the new balance. I didn't put these pieces in because I want you to be able to calculate them on your own. So you could reference that if you need to, but we should be able to get to the point that we can do the work without sort of the fill-in pieces to, kind of hint to us where we need to go. Oh, I think I meant for these totals, total number of day and total sum of all the day's balances to sit on these lines. So now to find the average daily balance, you want to take the total of all the sum of balances, end of day balances that is, and divide by the number of days. Let's do that. $380.81. And again, pausing to say, if these were the different end of day balances, does that seem like a reasonable average? And the answer is yes, it does. All right, so if that's our average daily balance, now we use that to find the finance charge. And remember, finance charge is the average daily balance times the periodic rate. So I do need to look back up in my reading. It says the credit card company charges us 1.25% as a periodic rate. Remember, we need to move the decimal 2 places to the left to express that as a decimal. And I'm going to do that arithmetic here. $380.81 times 0.0125 rounded to the nearest cent gives me a finance charge of $4.76. All right, so up here where it said finance charge, I could fill that in. $4. Whoops. No, I put that in the right spot. Sorry. $4.76 is the finance charge. Let's find the new balance. So remember that while new balance really is previous balance, $392.24, plus purchases minus payments and credits, that string has already been done for us, and we could start right here. So our new balance would equal $339.76, and the only thing I haven't, finished with regards to finding that new balance is adding in the finance charge of $4.76. Let's see what we get there. That gives me a new balance of $344.52. And I'll just transfer that answer up here. $344.52. Okay. So I hope those will help you to get underway with finding our finance charge using average daily balance method, but this time with purchases included. And we'll continue to practice. Please, please reach out to me if you have struggles and ask questions in class. This is not a difficult process, but it is kind of challenging to remember all the steps when you're first working with it. So it'd be important for you to ask questions. All right? Give it a try, and I'll talk to you folks soon. Make it a great day.